Well, I made a huge mistake when I designed this house and the roof for this house to catch water. I'm sharing this with you today because I don't want anyone to have to go through and make the same mistake I made. I chose to use standing seam metal roof for this house. One, because I thought it'd be really great for catching water. And you can attach solar panels and thermal panels directly to the ribs of the metal roofing, and you don't have to put any penetrations into your roof to attach the solar panels. So those were the two driving factors. The other one was that I went around and I toured a bunch of Earthship style homes, and it seemed like they were all using metal roofing, but they were using pro panel and they were getting leaks. And so I decided if I used the standing seam, that would solve the leak problem. Well, it didn't. And now we're paying the price, and 13 years later, we're coming back and we're having to seal up this entire roof.
Hi, we're Christina and Matt. Retired, living off-grid, and traveling in our converted camper van, Clarity. We share a love of each other, of nature, and of living simply and affordably. Join us as we seek out ways to appreciate this beautiful world we all inhabit together.
In theory, they seal really well because of the way they attach from one panel to the next, but each panel is only 16 inches wide. And on a roof that's this shallow, what happens is in the winter we'll get occasionally some ice damming, and when that backs up, it can back up and then work its way under the seams. If you ever have to walk on the roof or anything like we do when we clean off these solar panels that you see behind us, it can work those seams and cause them to leak. And we think that's where the leak is coming from. We probably wouldn't have noticed it if Christina had put ice and water shield down before the pro panel, because it probably wouldn't have leaked down into the house.
It was a joint decision between me and my builder. My builder was really trying to figure out ways to cut costs because he knew I was really anxious about that. And so, you know, as the general contractor was me, I have to take responsibility for all the decisions made on the house. And so I'm owning up to this one and sharing it with you guys.
I'm cleaning all underneath this flashing with the vacuum, and then we're brushing off the entire roof. We'll have to wash all the debris off of the roof, and then we have to come back with a heavy-duty detergent washer, wash the whole roof, rinse it off again, and then we can start sealing it up.
Since we're working on our roof, which is a water catchment system, we're diverting all of the water from the gutters just out onto the land so that we don't contaminate our water source. We're doing that by attaching a flexible drain hose to where the water comes and drops into the cistern. And then we're diverting that off into a drainage area behind the house.
While I'm waiting for things to dry, I've got some other places that are leaking really bad that I need to just get covered up before it rains. It looks like we might get some rain this afternoon, and this stuff needs to cure for an hour or two before it starts raining, so I'm going to put some on now and see how it works. All right, well, we got the roof clean, so now I need to cut backer board for the flashing, and then we'll be able to start sealing it up.
Here we go.
It's really nice up here working because we've got such good cloud cover, so we're trying to get as much done as we can. Filling all these spaces in between the ribs so that we can cover over that with our roof membrane. So they changed the forecast and it's not supposed to rain till this afternoon, and then it's only 50% chance. So we're going for it, trying to get as much work done as we can. All right, last piece to put in, and looks like we're coming out exactly even on the caulk, which never happens. That's awesome. And then we can start putting on the seam seal. But right now the sky is looking absolutely gorgeous tonight, and so I think that's a perfect opportunity to set up another time lapse. Well, I got through my first bucket of Gaco Patch seam seal. Only 9 more to go. Show you what I did. I got all these seams done and the parapet around there. Only this much left to go. Got my work cut out for me, but we'll just plug away at it one piece at a time. I was wrecked yesterday afternoon after putting all that seam seal on in the hot sun. And so I'm glad I feel good today. You guys probably don't have an issue like this, but I had a little bit of decaf chai yesterday morning and one small square of chocolate about 1 inch by a 1/2 inch. And I could not sleep last night. I woke up at about 12:30 in the morning and was awake until about 4:30. Finally was able to just get back to sleep and dream a little bit, did a few cat naps. But I'm surprisingly not as tired as I thought I would be today. It looks like we are going to have some rain, and the forecast is for rain at about 10 o'clock. It is now 8:30. And the clouds are coming in, they're getting a little darker, but we need to find out if that Gaco Patch seam seal can be put on and have it rain on it right afterwards. So Christina just came out. What'd you find out?
It should be tactless in about 4 hours, and it takes 40 hours to cure, but it can be rained on within an hour of application.
Okay.
So, what's your prediction? Do we have?
I think we have an hour. No. By the time we actually get it mixed and get set up, I don't know, it's pushing it.
The way the universe typically works is just as you've got all that done and up on the roof and you put the first coat on, it will rain.
Yeah, so I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah, I think if there's other things that we can do, we should do those things.
Well, good morning. It's day 5 of this roof project, and we've been making good progress, but yesterday we got rained out at about, well, we used up 2 pails worth of material in the morning, and then we went over. Christina's sister was visiting, so we went over and had lunch with them over at her mom's house. While we were there, thunderstorms came in and it rained, so we got rained out for the day. It pretty much rained all afternoon, and we thought, okay, well, it kind of cleared up at the night. By the time we went to bed, everything was clear, and I thought, well, we'll have a nice dry roof if we just start early in the morning and try and get as much done as we can before the thunderstorms come in the afternoon. But it was 50 degrees last night, and everything is just soaked with dew. So we can't do a thing until the sun comes out. We were trying to beat the heat because the sun is so intense up here. But we have to wait until the sun dries off the roof before we can get up here. So we'll have to work during the hot part of the day. Hopefully when the clouds come in, we'll get some more done, but it's what it is. Yesterday I got all these ribs underneath the solar panels and almost done with this whole top section of the roof. Christina did a lot of work over here and got all these ribs done up to here and all the way around that skylight. So today we were hoping to get the majority of this done, but it might take a couple of days with the weather we're having. It's really interesting to me, the difference behind this skylight. Things are damp and there's a little pooling water, but not much. But when you look over here, where we already got the silicone patch around the skylight, it is just totally it is just totally puddled and pooled. There's no water getting into that roof at all. And this one's totally dry. How do you figure that? To apply this Gaco Patch seam seal, you really need to lay it on. It says on there to make it at least 1/8 of an inch thick, and to do that you've got to really slop it on there. So we're digging it out of the bucket here, laying it on nice and thick, and you're supposed to put it at least 3 inches past the seam that you're trying to seal on either side. And what I'm doing is laying so much of it on, and then literally in the corners and the edges here, I want to make a little curve so that the water can just run right down it and out of the way. I'm guessing this will last at least 30 years. I think Christina wants to say something.
Yeah, I want to save you the misery of having to do this. This is brutal, out in the hot sun, on our hands and knees. So yeah, one way to avoid having to do this is understanding standing seam metal roofing and how challenging it is when you have penetrations on the roof. So every time you have to cut through one of those standing seams, you are making an opportunity for a leak. And so that means that every pipe that comes through the roof, you've got to plan that ahead of how you're putting the roof on, because you want that to land in the middle of a bay and not on a seam.
Such as
this one. I think we just got lucky. But it ends in the middle. You can seal around it, no problem. I don't think we've had leaking from this area before. To span between.
Hold on, you got a booger here.
Do I really? Oh.
It's white. It's silicone.
Aww. Aside from the silicone boogers, when you're trying to put skylights in, you want them to span between the trusses or whatever rafters you've got going, and that's usually 2 feet on center. And you have standing seam that's 16 inches on center. So there's just no way you're going to win that battle. You're going to have to cut through a standing seam. Well, now it's been patched up, but this is the end of a standing seam where it had to be cut in order to install the skylight. Well, actually the skylight was installed first, and then you have to lay down the standing seam and cut it.
Yep.
So that's just a really challenging detail.
So water can get up through here and migrate up the seam and get down underneath the panel.
Over here is an example of what we were talking about. This is the chimney, and the chimney had to be in the exact spot. Like, we couldn't move it, and so it lands right on a standing seam, so it had to be cut as well. As a point of reference for all of this, we roofed the garage with the same exact material. What we didn't have is any penetrations in the roof, and we didn't put this parapet detail in, and it has never had a leak. So this is the parapet detail, and it's really just kind of a stylistic architectural detail, honestly. It doesn't allow the snow to go off the back of the roof, but it also allows snow to melt and then that ice to create an ice dam under this flashing.
Christina said she wants to do me. I like that. Yeah, so the clouds are coming in. Yesterday we got rained out about 1 o'clock. It's now 5 minutes to 1. And so we're just trying to keep working and get as much done as we can before it starts raining. And hopefully it'll be a while, but.
So the good news, bad news here is that it's almost tolerable up here working if there's cloud cover, but the clouds are bringing rain.
That cloud behind me just let loose a huge thunderclap. I think we're gonna have to get off of this roof.
Whoa there. That's sounding menacing.
Yeah. So with lightning that close and thunder, it's probably not safe to be on the roof, so it's a good time for us to get some lunch. So we've come in to eat, and one thing we didn't mention up there is how hot that sun is when the sun is out. It's so hot that if you put your hand down on that standing seam metal, it'll burn you. It's amazing how nice the temperature is when the cloud cover is here.
Right.
It feels so good.
Especially when you're not on the roof.
Well, it just started to rain. Time to go inside.
Well, it's day 100 of our roof deck
Feels
project.
like it.
I've lost count, but it feels like 100.
It's like day 7 now.
Oh, okay.
But the cavalry arrived. Naisha's over here helping us out.
Yay! Oh, just having a friend and somebody to help just feels so good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning, but again, we had rain yesterday afternoon and the afternoon before, both of which shut us down midday, and both mornings the roof has been wet, and so we've had to wait for it to dry before we can get started. But today is the day we're going to get all of this Gaco Patch seam seal done, and so tomorrow we can start on the finished coat.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
Let's see.
How bad is it? Oh, it's pretty bad.
Is it another Gaco booger?
It's not too bad.
Okay.
Actually. You've only got one little tiny one right there.
Oh, that's minimal. That's dainty even.
All right. Woo!
All right.
We got all the Gaco Patch seam seal done.
that's a big step. It only took 7 days.
I don't
7
remember.
days?
100.
100
It took
days.
a lot less
100
with
days.
Nasia. That was so amazing. Having Nasia here was like doubling the crew.
Good
Just
fun.
in spirit and in getting it done.
Absolutely.
We got it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yay!
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it was totally cloudy this morning and it rained last night, and we've come up here, and even though now it's almost 11 o'clock, there's still water just beaded up on all of this white Gaco Patch that we put on here. And so the only way we're going to be able to do this is to hand dry everything. So Christina's actually doing that so that I can get started doing some of the painting.
We're applying 2 coats of Gaco S4200 finish coat. This product is approved for potable water catchment systems, so we're using it to cover up all that Gaco Patch. Finishing the roof with S42 gives the roof a beautiful white surface that will help reflect the sun's rays and keep the house even cooler.
Something else you don't know about me is in 1979, when I was 24 years old, my uncle Paul and Aunt Jackie offered me free room and board for the summer if I wanted to go and stay with them in Michigan. And they had a house on a little lake there. Paul happened to be the director of the Painter's Apprenticeship School in the city of Detroit. And so he brought me into work for a few days, kind of showed me the moves, and then had a couple of personal jobs to do at home. And so he taught me the ropes and gave me some work. He also kept an eye out for me on the shops that were hiring in Detroit, and I was able to get a job with a shop there. And I ended up spending most of the summer painting Edison substations all around the city of Detroit with high lead content paint. It was not a non-toxic work environment, but it did give me enough money that I was able to get my pilot's license while I was there. I basically worked full-time and spent all my spare money, all the money I made, that I didn't have to pay for rent, on getting my pilot's license. So in 1979, they were instrumental in getting me my private license. And it wasn't until 10 years later, in 1989, that I decided, since I'd spent probably $50,000 and all my spare money over the last 10 years flying, that I should get a commercial license. So I got my instrument rating, got a commercial license, got my flight instructor certificate, and started working as a flight instructor. So there you have it. What really inspires me about this story is that at 68 years old, I'm still using those skills, and they are really coming in handy on this roof. Well, that's a lot of material that got put on that roof. 2,000 square feet doesn't seem so huge, but boy, that was huge.
Yay, it's done.
It's done. And man, is it bright up here.
It's so bright. Actually, it's not completely done. We have a few details, a little cutting in around the skylights and a few just touch-up pieces. But other than that, it's sealed up and we're feeling confident it's not going to leak.
Yeah. Well, with the completion of our roof project, we're going to end this video here. We hope it has been useful for you, especially if you're considering building a home with a water catchment system on the roof. If I had to do it over again, I would have used this method rather than using a standing seam roof.
And guess what? We have a new Patreon page. And so if you are just dying to support us, which I know you are, you can go to patreon.com/ClarityOffGrid.
And we'll see you in the next one.